Hi, Dialectic kiddos. Okay, I'm going to keep this pretty short because you need to just spend your time reading, but you're going to finish up the Aeneid. So book 8 is, I believe, where we left off. So we end with the Trojan camp kind of up in chaos, all because of the jealousy of the gods and how they play out or how they control the quote unquote fate of Aeneas and his men. So in book 8, you have Turnus gathering his men and sending a messenger to the city of King Diomedes. That's a Greek living in Italy. They try to win him as an ally, and meanwhile, the spirit of the Tiber River appears to Aeneas in a dream and tells him not to fear the war. He's going to reach his homeland and the destination of his household gods. So where he's supposed to go, what will be Rome. The Tiber god tells Aeneas to travel up the river until he sees a white sow with piglets. And that is the place where Ascanius will build his city. The city's called Alba Longa. The Tiber god also says that near this spot are the Akkadian people, and he should go win the Akkadian king Evander to his side or get him to ally with him. And he tells Aeneas to pray to Juno to make her a little less angry. Aeneas thanks the god, sails with some of his men along the river. They see the white sow. He sacrifices to it as an offering to Juno, and the men continue till they reach the place where one day the Roman towers will rise. The Arcadians are in the middle of a feast to honor Hercules and the gods, and so when they see the ships, Pallas Evander's son goes to greet them so the feast won't be interrupted, and Aeneas explains that he wants to ally with him in the coming war. Pallas is immediately impressed and by Aeneas's whole demeanor, his nobility that shows. In the same way that you have God like Odysseus, there's some kind of nobility with Aeneas that is evident to everyone. Priam and Anchises, Evander remembers meeting Priam and Anchises as a youth, and so he agrees to help the Trojans and invites them to join into the feast. He gives Aeneas a tour of the city and tells him the history and some of the ways that they got their name for Latium, the Golden Age and what it was like, and they pass through what will be the future forum. A lot of these things are just indicating what's going to happen in the future of Rome, so things that when Virgil is writing the Aeneid, it's things that he already knows that have come to pass. Like we look at Carthage and we look at Dido burning herself on a funeral pyre. That's supposed to be Virgil acknowledging the future of Carthage in the Punic Wars, because in the Third Punic War, when everything finally is all said and done, Carthage is burnt to the ground and replaced with a Roman city, right? So it's all just this whole story about how the fate all worked together for the promise of the Roman people and how it's all exactly how it was supposed to be, so that way Caesar Augustus could become who he was in his godlike state and in his position of power, ruling over the known world and conquering all the things. So this is all just to stroke the ego of Caesar Augustus. And he's doing it pretty well. He's obviously using Homer as a good guide, and you're going to see how he acknowledges Homer here in the next few chapters, books. So anyways, he gives Aeneas this tour of the city. Venus then asks her husband Vulcan to build a set of armor for Aeneas for this upcoming war. She kisses him as an encouragement, so Vulcan says that he would have built an armor for Aeneas at Troy if she had even asked. So he gets his own Cyclops workers to build a 7-layered shield, and this shield is really important. It'll come up again. In the morning, Evander and Aeneas meet to talk war. Evander says that he'd like to fight, but he's too old, so he advises Aeneas to go with the ally and with the thousands of Etruscans, who revolted against the tyrannical rule of a king. They already want to join in the war against the king, but the prophecy told them to wait for a foreign commander, so that must be Aeneas. And so Evander also offers to send his troops and his beloved young son Pallas to fight for Aeneas and learn the ways of war. Aeneas explains that when they see this red light accompanied by a thunder in the sky, that's a sign from Venus that war nears. So they pray that Pallas will return safely, hoping that if his son is killed, that Evander will hope to die. Aeneas and the soldiers set out, and Pallas is leading and looking particularly brave and handsome, and the mothers of Palantin watch them, and they cry as they leave. Aeneas's group finds the Tuscans and camps with them. Venus comes down from the heavens to give Aeneas his new armor. Aeneas marvels at the beautiful helmet, sword, spear, and ornate shield that he has received. On the shield, Vulcan has depicted the future of Rome, including the important Roman myths and the history of Romulus and Remus suckling the she-wolf, and Augustus Caesar leading the Roman fleet to victory at the Battle of Actium, which is going to be part of our history discussion this week, along with the celebrations in Rome afterwards. Aeneas doesn't know what the images mean, but he appreciates them all still the same. He lifts it onto his shoulders now, the fame and the fates of all his children's children. So the shield is really ornate, and it's just basically, whenever you read the description, maybe tomorrow I might find an image of what it probably looked like for you to see exactly how it all fits together. There's some symbolism and some beauty to what is described. So in Book 9, Iris, sent by Juno, instructs Turnus to attack the Trojan camp since Aeneas left it. And Turnus thanks the gods for all of his help to prepare his troops, and the Trojans see his army approaching. They prepare to guard the fortress that they've built. And Turnus's men think that the Trojans are cowards because they stay in the fortress instead of coming out to meet them. And so, after attempting the failing to break the fortress, Turnus's troops burn the Trojan ships, and that action pauses to give some backstory about the Roman ships. Cybele, a goddess, a Roman goddess, gave her sacred trees to the Trojans to build their ships. And so she asked Jove to shield all the ships from storms and destruction, and Jove agreed. And so they plan to turn the ships into water nymphs after they serve their purpose. So returning to the present time, when the ships were being burnt, Turnus attempts to burn them, and they transform into the nymphs and they swim away. So his attempt to kind of take over is completely thwarted by this whole promise that was made in their creation. Though Turnus's men are upset in the divine intervention, he declares that the lack of ships will actually hurt the Trojans, so he doesn't fear the fate or the gods, and he says that the Trojans have messed up his fate to marry Lavinia, and so he galvanizes his men or strengthens them with a stirring speech and makes plans to scale the walls of the Trojan camps. As the Trojans guard the walls of their fortress, Nisus, a Trojan, tells his young friend Euryalus about the eagerness to do a brave act. So Nisus wants to sneak out in the Rutulian camp surrounding the fortress and find Aeneas and get help for the upcoming battle. And Euryalus thinks that this is a great idea. He wants to come too. Nisus warns that the attempt might prove fatal, that they may die, and Euryalus' life is more important. So he refuses to budge, though, saying, I want a part of this too. The Trojan leaders are in the middle of a nighttime meeting, trying to decide who should go as a messenger to Aeneas when Nisus and Euryalus come to volunteer. Alaides and Ascanius praise and encourage them. Ascanius promises them gifts. Euryalus asks that they only comfort his mother because he can't bear to see her upset. Ascanius cries, remembering his own mother, Creusa, and the promises that he will tell his mother. Ascanius gives the pair of messages for Aeneas, and Virgil foreshadows that the messages will scatter on the wind. They'll not make it to Aeneas. Nisus and Euryalus, under cover of night, creep through the enemy camp. Everyone there is either drunk or sleeping, and they just suggest that they shouldn't waste this chance to kill some of them. This is not a good idea. And they quietly kill many men before Nisus finally decides that they should stop and continue through camp. Euryalus, however, straps on enemy armor and a helmet as a trophy. Volscians, a Rutulian captain, marches back to Turnus's camp with 300 men, and he sees Euryalus' helmet through the dark and calls out, asking who's there. The two of them run into the forest, and so the men chase after them, and Nisus finds his way through the forest to Latanius' land, but he realizes at this point that he's lost. So that he lost Euryalus somewhere out in the woods. He re-enters the forest, searching, and finds him, but the enemies have now surrounded his friend. So Nisus struggles. Should he save his own life or leave his friend to die, or should he attempt a rescue? He throws his spear, killing a Rutulian, and then the group looks around and he kills another man. Volscians furiously prepares to kill him. Nisus jumps from his hiding place, saying that he's responsible for the deaths. But then Volscens stabs Euryalus. Anyways, I may have said the name wrong. Nisus charges forward, kills Volscens as he kills him, and they fall and die next to his friend. The Rutulians bring back the bodies and they mourn their dead. In the morning, Turnus's side displays the head of Nisus and Euryalus on pikes. And rumors reach his mother, who runs to the front lines and says that the robe that she made for him will serve as his funeral shroud. And they all mourn. So the troops do attempt to scale the walls, and the Trojans hold them off. Turnus throws a flaming torch and sets fire and collapses a tower, killing many people and throwing 2 Trojans out to the Rutulians. Ascanius makes his first kill using a bow and arrow. His victim is a man named Numanus, who was mocking the Trojans, saying that they, like women, enjoy dressing up in fancy clothes, trying to say that they're all girly boys. Apollo, famous for his archery, applauds Ascanius' actions from the heavens and says that he's fated to found a line of great leaders that will bring peace. So Apollo comes to Earth disguised as an elderly Trojan and instructs Ascanius to stop fighting. When he leaves, the other Trojans realize that he was a god, and they make Ascanius leave the battle because that has been his fate given to him by a god. The Trojans... there's 2 Trojan men who were guarding a gate to the fortress. They open it and dared the Latins to enter. They manage to kill some of them as they rush in. Turnus enters, kills many Trojans. Mars then strengthens the Latins, and Pandorus closes the gate, but in doing so, he accidentally closes Turnus within the Trojan walls. And he throws a spear at Turnus. Juno diverts it. Turnus brutally kills him and other Trojans. And then Nestheus, a Trojan, enters with his friends and tells them to remember Aeneas and Troy. The Trojans manage to stop the progress. Jove sends down Iris to tell Turnus to leave. Because Juno can't disobey Jove by continuing to help him, unable to fight any longer, he escapes and jumps into the Tiber River. So that's where it leaves us. You guys go ahead and read 10, 11, and 12, and I am out of town for a few days. So if I don't get the rest of this put up by tomorrow afternoon, it will be sometime Monday, so you can listen Monday or Tuesday as the rest of the recap happens. I apologize for the fact that we can't really get together and discuss some of the intricate details and some of the finer points. But I hope that you're at least enjoying the story. The next story that we have is Julius Caesar, Shakespeare, and I'm really looking forward to that. I don't know how we're going to work that one out. Dramatize it in class, just read it, listen to a dramatization. So we'll see how we're going to work all that out. I'll work on that over the next couple of days. But see you guys when I see you.